prospects or gain professional development skills overall. Before we begin, we would like to announce that this webinar will be recorded, and if you would like to turn your camera off with this recording, please make sure to do so now. Okay. There will also be an opportunity to ask questions to Dr. Khan at the second part of this webinar, so please keep that in mind. Now, we'll pass it over to Dr. Khan, our speaker, for a quick introduction to herself.
Thank you. So do you have my slides shared, or do I need to share them again? Okay, thank you so much. I am Chaitali Khan, and I am a postdoctoral fellow at the National Institutes of Health. And before I begin, I would like to thank you and congratulate you, all of you.
Dr. Khan, I think that your mic is muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So the goal or what I want to tell you today is, what are the research internship position, and, how do you apply to it, and what does, research internship really mean? And basically focusing more on the NIH because, I am kindly associated with NIH and there are several research opportunities which are available. And by the end of the webinar, I would like to tell you what are the other research opportunity, but taking an example of the NIH, because the basic structure of the, application would be similar. You can utilize that, to look for the other research opportunity. So I'm assuming that I'm talking to the high school and the college students, right? And the summer research internships are available for, all kind of students. And this is what I'm gonna take you through. So just to start just a second, yeah. So content of this webinar would be, what is summer research internship? And what are the summer research internship opportunities? And how do you apply for such, internship position? What really matters to get these kind of positions? So just to start, so this is the basic structure, right? Some of you would be at the very, rear ends of these. Some of you would be in between. So basically, there are like the school, which is like high school student, senior high school student, which could apply for these summer internship program. And then some of you who are in undergraduation, they can also apply for all these summer internship program. So this is like a linear path when you complete your education, but once you have finished your undergrad, there are multiple paths available to you, which is some of you go for the post-bac programs where you acquire furthermore, research training before applying for higher degree programs, or some of you decide to go for, directly for specialized programs such as master program and then transition into your career of choice. However, some of you directly might go to higher degree program, which are PhD or MD PhD or MDs. And for that, research internship is also really important because you all already kind of, you know that, you have some idea about the research, you have recognized what are the areas you might be interested in. So basically, at the end, whether you transition directly to your career or you want to further, continue into education, you will be benefited by doing this research internship. And since I'll be modeling most of these question or example on the NIH, which I will come to it later, but there are different fellowships or research internship which you could potentially do at the NIH, which is one example is NIH High School SIP, which is Summer Internship Program for high school students, and NIH Summer Internship Program for the undergrad and even for further higher degree, like student pursuing higher degree or specialized master courses. So what is a internship, basically. Some of you already have some idea, but some of you who have not gone for internship, it is basically, transitioning from books to bench, right? You are taking all these courses in school, but at the end, how do you come into the real world and apply your knowledge of, what you are learning, like by using these books and exams and things. So basically, there are different value to the internship, right? So it is first-hand experience of the research because you are facing the real world problem over here, and you are kind of getting indulged or involved into the research which people are doing in the labs or at other platforms. And here, because once you start early on during high school or in the undergrad, you can recognize what you really like, what you really don't like. So basically, it put forward, kind of a transition or your career path, depending on what you really enjoy doing. And at the end, whether you like it or not, certain areas, what you are doing internship, it does give you certain transferable skill, which you can further utilize in future in any of your career path. So these are the benefit of doing internship. Basically, give you a real world view of the problem which you are confined to the textbook during your school year or the college year. And what do you really do in the especially during the research internship? So basically, I mean, you think like a scientist, which is an example over here for the Aristotle, which is a Greek philosopher, and you basically learn to apply research method. Right. For example, here is an example of a stone. How do you really study stone? Right. You can basically take different parameters and you start to apply, different steps to come to a conclusion. And what are those steps? You begin with observation, you propose a hypothesis, you conduct certain experiments, you get the result, conclude your result, and you further communicate. So basically, this is giving you an idea, this is what you basically be doing, applying a research method into any of the topic which you will be doing internship or wherever you're gonna work with. So basically learning to think like a researcher or a person who is actively conducting research. And out of this, you gain many transferable skills. Sometimes it is computational, sometimes it is mathematical, or sometimes it is experimental. So at the end, you'll be gaining the experience, but also transferable skill by doing these kind of internship. And so this is important, and I would like to emphasize because I come from a biomedical research program, but research is not only about science, which is research has multiple components, right? Multiple areas or subjects people do research. So how do one choose a research program, especially the school student who are still in their formative years? They're recognizing what they really like, what they really don't like. So there are different topics and where people also actively pursue research. For example, STEM or STEM topics, right? They basically comprises of biomedical research, physics, maths, chemistry, and engineering. Whereas there are other topics one might be interested in, which is humanities, which has political science. People do internship in literature, fine arts, history, philosophy, and even public policy. So recognizing, one way is to conduct, okay, fine, I'm going to do biomedical research, physics, maths. These are like STEM topics, but there are other very important topics which has, come from political science literature. So when you are at school, probably you could be thinking in a broader scale. And at that point, recognizing what really, interests you, whether you want to be a writer or whether you want to be a politician or a scientist, it really is important to recognize what topic of area you probably want to internship, wanna have a internship. And also, like, if you do not know, maybe in having an internship at multiple, one or two topic probably will be, diverse topic would be better for you. So that opens your mind up, and then you can finally define your topic of choice. So the other thing is, when we talk about research, this is what I really do. I do experimental research, which is I conduct experiment on the bench. There are certain, reagent. You can imagine how, your laboratories are. So you basically conduct experiment. And experimental research have many, many of the science fall in Experimental research, for example, biomedical research is one of the example. There's experimental physics, chemical material science, food technology, for example. They're all in, branches of the experimental research. This is how one might be conducting. This is just a mode of the research. But there are other kind of research which could also be biomedical, but can involve different kind of, method of research. For example, conducting a computational research. So one may not like doing active experiment on the bench, but they would like to think more as a mathematical or theoretical person. So in that kind of thing, what we have, like what even NIH or many other, research program have, for example, big data analysis using computational method, theoretical modeling of, physical model or even the biological model, mathematical science, they all fall in the computational, where you employ supercomputer to conduct your computational, and you basically utilize codes and mathematical, platforms. And there's another research, I would be also interested in, for example, conducting a field research, which is not confined to one's lab or conducting a, computer research on your computer, but it is actively, going out and looking for maybe, parameters out there in the wild. For example, geological science, archaeology, climate science, and marine research, where researchers are actively, dive into the nature, collect their data, conduct their experiment out there, and then, apply the research method in a, slightly different way. So recognizing whether you like experimental research, conducting experiment, or you like to, think theoretically, like to work on your computer and, write codes and come up with solution, maybe, computational research will be good, or whether, you would like to perform field research. Right, so that is also important. And at this point, I think I would advise, going for maybe two combination would be better. Either having an experimental combined with the field. One internship you could have experimental, other you can have a computational, or, such combination would be really good to recognize what, what kind of research you really enjoy. And so since I'm a biomedical scientist and I basically work in the lab, so it is, it is relevant for me to, deep dive into what I really do and what biomedical, research is. And then we can model all these questions about internship on this, realm. So as I'm talking about the research, I gave you a very, very broad, view, right? But research is very, very focused. Right? I'm reading a biochemistry, for example, undergrads are reading a biochemistry book or biology, but biology can be segmented into hundreds of pieces, and hundreds of pieces further segmented into thousands of pieces. And one of the topic probably is my research topic, right? So when you are doing a research, you are very, very narrow and you are very focused on one particular topic. So when you identify areas of research, for example, biomedical research could be further divided. And such division is like basic research, where you understand the fundamental question, right? You ask, how does it happen? Why does it happen? Those kind of questions, which occur in nature, those are called basic research, right? One might be driven by such question. Whereas there are other research, which is more of a translational research, where you have a research method or you develop a product. And this is more of a biotech company oriented or a pharmacological company, which is like drug discovery or, perfecting a technique. So if if you like those kind of, ideas, that's a better choice for you. The other kind of research is more of a clinical research, which is you understand the patients right there, the cause, what is causing the disease, and what could be a treatment. And if you really want to be towards MD, PhD, or MD program, clinical research will be, better for you. But at the end, they all part of the biomedical research. So recognizing, towards when you are going into your junior or senior year of college, probably it's good once you start recognizing, because at that point, you might be going into more specialized program or, more of a higher degree, or probably going for, some other career transition. So, questioning, okay, whether I like a fundamental research, so maybe, I can go to this program or join this lab. Whether I like a translation, maybe I can go to a, biotech company, or I can try going, different. So that is again, it's an important thing for more towards the end of your college year. And like at the end, because there are so many steps involved. I mean, once you start putting all of them down together, but how do I really choose a research program? What fits with my idea? So, I mean, I would say that it is basically, depending on what kind of person choices are, like whether you like this kind of research, whether you enjoy this subject more, and what mode of the research you would like to perform and over a longish period of time during your PhD or during your later in your career. That would be a deciding factor, picking up that topic and sub area of your research. And then at the end, I mean, make whatever sub area, even if you are doing the internship in completely different topics, just make the best of it. Network with people over there, try to learn as much. So at the end, whatever you do, you get some transferable skill or some network you will, likely will be retaining. And I mean, as I would say, like internship, I mean, of course, we keep on adding all to the CV, but it is, much more than, over a longish period, it will be your experience which is going to stay with you. And you can, utilize the best of the opportunity while picking up these research programs. So since I'm talking about the biomedical research, so I will take you through a small, what kind of research I do, and then I will further dive into different, research internship programs available. So I'm a postdoc at the NIH, and I conduct basic research, right? Where I do not bother about the translational, how I'm going to make the product out of it. That is not my worry at the moment, and I'm not a clinical person. So in my basic research, what I really do, I ask a very fundamental question, which is how does cancer grow and spread? Right, which is a very broad question. I can sit in a garden and ask this question, right? So basically, I mean, when I'm asking this question, which is here, you can see, like I'm asking, how does cancer, which is growing in one part of someone's body, actually, move from here and go to some other organ? For example, in this case, this is a human body, and you have a cancer which is growing in somebody's intestine. And then over a period, we know that cancer metastasizes, right? Which is a deadly consequence of a cancer. And at that point, it goes and metastasizes at multiple locations of your body. And in this example, cancer from the intestine is able to metastasize and grow in your lung. At that point, we call it a localized tumor, which is a primary tumor. But what really happened here, it becomes malignant, right? And once somebody is detected with a malignant tumor, it is quite a, not a very happy situation. And, there are treatments now, but treatments are, sometimes, I mean, it needs very aggressive treatment once that occurs. So it is not a very good news for others. So, but when this happens, it is a multiple, step process. It just doesn't happen like today, cancer is growing here, it'll be somewhere. It takes multiple steps, and all of us has like blood vessels. So cancer from the intestine over here will enter in blood vessel, and then it will travel, go into the circulation, and then it will be going to some other organ. For example, in this case, is liver. And it is a very, it takes years sometimes, it takes months sometimes, but it is a very selective process. It just doesn't happen. And why should our intestine be growing in a liver, right? So there are many kind of questions over here. So this is one of the things which I try to understand. And over here, I put a video for you all, just a very simple, schematic video, so you can understand more about, how cancer spread and what does NIH, think about it. And this is a video from one of the centers of the NIH, which is National Cancer Institute. So I'm going to play the video and probably just stay quiet. It's a 2-minute video. Okay.
Most cancer deaths are caused by metastatic cancer. Metastasis occurs when cancer cells break off the tumor. primary tumor. Some of those cells vessels. Cancer cells can travel along these vessel highways to other parts of the body. Many cancer cells die while traveling through the blood vessels, but some will survive and stick to the vessel wall and move through the vessel wall into another body tissue. These cells may not divide before metastatic to cancer cells mostly describe. Cancer cells can describe certain places in the body. Breast cancer is described in problems. And colon cancer is described in levels of movement. It's important to remember that the stomach is the same type of cancer as the bladder. Cancer cells that travel blood vessels and form metastatic tumors in the liver. These metastatic tumors are colon cancer, not liver cancer. Metastatic colon cancer is usually treated with drugs and other therapies used to treat colon cancer. Researchers at the National Cancer Institute and other research organizations are studying metastasis metastasis.
Okay, so this is just, the overview, and you might have noticed that, there's a cancer and there's a metastatic cancer, right? A colon cancer is a colon cancer in the colon, but when colon cancer divide, it can go to, other places. And it is called now the metastatic colon cancer in your lung. So these are something which I'm interested in, and I would like to know how and why of those questions, right? Some people are interested in how to cure these patients. Some people are interested in how do, they want to design their, what kind of the drugs will work on these kind of tumors. So depending on research interest, as I said, it could be, further divided. And just a second. Just a second. Okay, let me figure out how to change the slide here. Okay, so I study these questions using a model system, and often a case with the fundamental research, which is the basic research, we employ model system because it is difficult to study humans. So you would rather have a model where you can like make such a disease and study them whenever you wish to study. Like, for example, model system, like in this case is a Drosophila, which is a fruit fly, which is a very well established genetic system. And there are other several types of model system which many labs will utilize, which is like zebrafish, frog model, and there are other mouse model. So depending on, further, as I said, more you deep dive into the research, things get narrower and narrower, right? But in this case, like Drosophila, like any other, living organism, has a similar system. Although this is a tiny insect, but it also has same digestive system, same brain, same muscle, and same, other systems such as skeleton and, circulatory system. So basically what we are doing, we are condensing a big human into a tiny insect. And over the year, over 100 of years, basically, there are, genetics which we can do in Drosophila. So we can manipulate whichever gene or, the cells we want to change, and we can study their properties. So as a result, these model systems are really handy when we conduct these kind of the basic research. And what I'm studying at the current moment is, how tumor metastasizes. You have a tumor somewhere, how it goes into the brain, which is a deadly disease in human. And for that, what we do in the lab, I take Drosophila, inject some tumor, and get the tumor in the brain. And at that point, how we do it, we take Drosophila, which is a tiny insect, do some surgery, put the tumor cells, and you can see here, just a very, simplified version. This is a tiny insect which is photographed, and there's some surgery over here. And in the fluorescent light, you can see that tumor is glowing in the head, right? So in the head, you can imagine that now it is, in the proximity with the brain. So it is probably, gonna metastasize into the brain. And this metastasized tumor, because you have thousands of insects growing in your lab culture, you can decapitate them, isolate the full brain, prepare your sample, and take it onto the microscope or do some other kind of experiment. So, which you can imagine, which is not possible with human, right? But at the end, by doing this process, you can create a human model of the disease in a tiny insect, and then you can ask whichever question you would like. And this is just one of the example I would like to show you, which is like over here. I'll take again. This is red is a tumor cell and green is the brain, which is marked with different color. And we do the microscopy. You can image the full brain, and you can see here that tumor is very nicely localizing and growing into the brain of the fly, right? And whereas the green is just these are different fluorescent label, and which is marking the brain cells of just a normal brain which doesn't have a tumor. Whereas here you have a brain, and which is tumor is kind of growing inside your brain. And you can look using the microscope we use is like very high-end microscope, and you can go deeper into the tissue. And then what you can see here that this is the green is the boundary of the brain, and tumor is basically forming colonies and growing inside the brain. So basically, what I create is like model these kind of questions, condense them in a tiny organism which is fly, and then I can study them. The entire brain I can isolate, and then I can study multiple kind of whatever question interests me. So that is one of the example of conducting basic research. And the question, basically what I've done, I have given Drosophila power to look into the human brain or into the human under microscope by creating these models. And now I can ask, why do tumor go to the brain? I mean, what is so special to the tumor? And how does tumor enter into the brain? And how does brain accommodate such growing tumor? And whether, when a tumor is growing in a brain, does it affect brain function, or there are any changes in the brain? So these kind of things we can, address using these kind of a model. And just the last bit of my research, which is one of the example I wanted to give you, because, this was the research conducted by Mehmet when he was, doing internship in our lab with me. So which is like another thing which I'm interested in is, to create intestinal cancer in the fruit fly, right? And we know that colon cancer is very prevalent in human beings, but we cannot really understand, what are the, how it affects intestine and how it metastasizes. But we can also create, we can utilize Drosophila, which also have an intestine. And you can see here, which is marked here in the red, and there are green are stem cells, which are, a kind of cell which proliferate or which, can divide. And what Mehmet basically did during his summer internship program, created, model of the intestinal cancer. Over here, it's just a fly, which is normal. We call it wild type because there's no change happen here, just in the wild. And you can see here, intestine looks perfectly normal. Whereas when you have a mutant for human cancer gene, and you can see here, these stem cells, they become, they grow like masses of tumor. And this is where we can call it like there's a, intestinal tumor model, which we can create in fruit fly. And eventually, we will ask different kind of question, what are the genes which are responsible for it and how these tumor basically behave in the intestine. So these are just examples, and I could tell you that when you come to do, some internship program, you get involved, you get to choose your project. Sometimes existing project is there, which you can take up, and basically, you learn from learning how to do fly work if you are working in a fly lab, which is Drosophila, and then, how to isolate, how to do genetics, and how to do this microscopy. So over the 2 months period, you will probably, have gained this much research experience, and preferably whether you want to continue in this or not, but you would have, these transferable skills which you have acquired during your internship. Right. So now I'm going to transition more into, topic which is much more directly right now relevant to you. What are the summer research internship opportunities and at the NIH? Because I'm going to take one of the example, and then probably we can look for what are the other kind of opportunities there. And just to introduce NIH is a pretty big institute. So there are several research opportunities. And I'll tell you there are different kind of summer internship for you guys. And basically, NIH is the National Institutes of Health, and it contains 27 biomedical institute within itself. And this is just a photo of one of the building, which we call Building 10. And this is the main campus in Bethesda, which is in Maryland. And there are many off-campus NIH NIH labs, which are spread all over the US. So overall, at the main campus, there are something around 1,200 labs. So there are many groups you could look, and there are around 5,000 trainings. And like the research area, basically NIH covers the biomedical research, and it has basic, clinical, translational, behavioral science, and even health policy. So these are the core topics which, if you're planning to come to NIH, you will be, exposed to, depending whichever area interests you. And before I go how to apply, I wanted to, discuss with you what does the typical lab or group structure look like. Because when you're contacting these people, you would like to know who are you dealing with, and who's the right person to be getting in contact with. So this is a typical group structure for the biomedical research, and even for other kind of research groups, which is the lab or the group's head. Then down there comes a postdoctorates like me. And then there are graduate students which are doing their PhD or MD PhD programs. And there are often the case there are postbacks, or there are undergrads which are involved in the research. So when you are applying to the lab, the person who is responsible or who you should be connecting with is the lab head, which is often referred as lab head, professor, or principal investigator. And this is the person who is concerned with your application, right? Then come the research scientist onto their independent position, as I have the arrows upwards. So this is, you gain experience, and then you are transitioning to your more, higher position. So these are the postdocs are the people probably you will end up working with, right? If you're PI, because, PI is having the group, is involved with this and that. But postdocs probably, will be mentoring you on one-on-one basis. And then you have PhD student. Like NIH doesn't have many of the PhD students, but they are mostly postdocs. So you will be, in direct contact with the postdoc. But in university, setting, you will have more PhD students, right? There are more graduate students. So you might be working with, person. You might be dealing with this grad student who are maybe in their senior year, or towards their finishing of their PhD, who are experienced enough to mentor you. And then postbacks, NIH has postback, not many universities have postbacks, or there are other undergrads which are involved in research experience, which you will be, interacting with during your stay of the internship. So this is how the typical lab structure look like. So when you are applying, just bear in your mind that what you're gonna, which is the right person to contact, and how you are navigating your application. So the NIH summer internship opportunity. So there are two kinds. One is high school, for the high school students, and other are for undergrad master students. And for the high school student, these are HSCIP, and I'll take you, more into the detail. For the undergrad or master's student, they are summer internship program. So they do differ from one another. For the high school summer internship, they are for the NIH program, they're open for the 12th, 11th and the 12th grader, which is like you have to be, I guess, 17 plus or something they have but which is not true for many other programs. They are also open for just the high school freshman and sophomore. So which are, you can apply once you are 40 plus or 50 plus. But NIH have this specific criteria, which is, basically they are taking these 11th and the 12th grader. And mostly they are for exploring biomedical research. But as I said, NIH is very big. It has several kind of, research group, but you could be applying to, different areas. And high school is kind of part-time. It's not a full, high school SIP is sort of part-time. It's not a full-time involvement. And there are two different programs, which I'll take you through. And mostly high school SIP is conducted at the main campus in Bethesda, Maryland. And I guess if you guys still looking for, there's a deadline, which is, 16th of February, not, too many days. But yeah, it is still open, and they do provide monthly stipend on daily commute, help with your daily commute. So, I mean, further, there are specialized NIH SIP program, which is for the high school student, and these are called cohort programs. And over here, you have for the rising 12th grader. So these are 11th grader, which are going to go into the 12th, right? So, and they are not full-time, they are kind of part-time, which is Tuesday through Thursday. And they are, from July to August 1st. So they are like a small time period for, people to get, well aware of what kind of a research is going on in NIH and get some idea about. But for the graduating senior year, or it is a full-time research position for 2 months or 2 to 3 months. And at this point, because you're probably thinking of, your next step, so they do have a college application, advice or professional development program, and there are orientation. So there are different networking events which are organized for you guys, people who are looking for next step in their career, whether being, post-bac, college, or, for the college application, not post-bac at this point. And other kind of leadership training you could be getting at. So this will be really good for people who are, in their 12th grade. So this is regarding with the high school internship program at the NIH. NIH also have a very big program for undergrads. And this is called summer internship program. And over here, I mean, you can generally apply to whichever lab you want. You put your application in the system. And then it is basically, at the NIH lab in the main campus in Bethesda, but also including other facilities which are in Maryland or Montana. There are different, facilities which are open to this program, depending, what you really want to do. And it is kind of a full-time position for 2 to 3 months. You're not allowed to take any other courses or attend classes. And still, this is still open, and it has monthly stipend on your daily commute. But NIH SIP could also be, there are further subdivision if you want to apply for selected program, which is for, like, you can go through there, like, for community college students, which is called CCSEP, Community College Summer Enrichment Program, or for the colleges who have limited access to the research opportunity during school year, you can apply to this program. So it is like, getting more into specialized, program, not going into the just a generalized SIP application. And if for the college student who are not able to visit the campus, you can also apply for virtual program, which is called VSOAR. And the other thing which is, and I also have is for master student in the data science. So you can apply for graduate data science summer program, or for the people in the medical students interested in their translational science. So you can join the translational rather than going into the basic, science. So other than that, I mean, you can consider applying to these programs, but there are, long-term fellowships. So some of you might be just, interested in doing long-term internships, and which doesn't involve, full-time commitment to the program. So as I was going through investigating, different internship programs at the NIH, there are something called long-term scholarship program, which is, potentially you could apply. And it is open for high school, college, professional courses, and graduate. And these are part-time during your academic year. So you are, associated with the lab, you are conducting some part of the project, but you don't really have to be, on campus every day. It is not a full-time. You do come and go kind of a, process. And it is conducted under a lab. The application system is more towards a lab principal investigator. Once you like some lab, you can write to them, okay, I'm interested, and then you can come up with a scholarship program. And there's no such, specific format of application. You just probably, contact the PI, which is the head of the lab that you are interested in joining their lab. And then, we can navigate from there. So, and these long-term fellowships are called academic internship programs or undergraduate scholarship program, which you can probably browse through. And I'm not going to go into the details of these. Right. So this is just an overview of, different kind of internship which are potentially available to you. And being in high school, undergrad, or even, beyond your undergrads year. But at the same time, how do I approach these summer internship at the NIH or the other places, right? It's a general, theme which is applicable to all the application, whatever you do. And over here for the NIH specifically, you can, navigate these things, which is, I'll probably, leave the presentation with you so you can have the link, which is OITE, which is Office of Intramural Training and Education. And there you'll find all the details and the application links. And mostly the deadline is February. And I mean, cohort programs might have, some different deadlines. So that is something to be noted. So like what the application procedure have, and if I'm screening application, what I'm really looking, in the student's application material. Right. So one of the things, whether it's been PI or postdoc or whosoever is looking at the application, I mean, we look for their research interest statement or the cover letter, which is something around 1-page write-up you guys submit. And that is very important because that tells anybody what your real interest is and why you are applying for any given program. And then, of course, you submit your CV and then your reference letters. But since, writing research statement is, one of the key component and one of the most important, component of your application, maybe paying more attention to it is, good. So, and I'm going to tell you, if I'm screening application or my PI screening, what we are looking into, these research statement. And in addition to submitting your application, I would also suggest write to the PI if you're interested in anybody's lab and tell them why you are interested. Just send your application directly to them as well, instead of just leaving your application submitted. So that gives you, okay, because you are now seen by a person who's probably interested in hiring, and that because there are many people applying, that put you, slightly apart from them. So doing that is probably one of the, good thing. And then PIs can forward those applications to us or, other seniors in the lab. And then, we can, all navigate through the application. So as I said, research statement, it's one of the very core component of your application. And that is something, everybody would like to see what, what ideas, I mean, why do they want to do the, this internship? So, I mean, if I'm looking at your research interest statement, I mean, what really attracts is basically navigating through whether they have, these 5 points, which is what are your research interests? I mean, why do you want to, have an internship with any of the lab? And what are your bigger goals? I mean, coming up, that is why it is important to recognize what you really like and what you really want to do, or whether you are at that point exploring. So that is also okay. You don't have to be, decided that this is what I'm going to be doing. You could be okay saying that, this is what interests me, but at the same time, I'm exploring this area of research. That is also fine. And the second point is, what do you want to work in the lab? Like, do you have any specific topic or anything specific, which is just a broad, you're interested in cell biology is good. And how does that lab group is, gonna help you achieve that? And what are your plans for the summer internship, which is third point, which is, any specific, like specific to the group, mentioning specific project or a small idea that I'm interested in cancer biology, or I would like to study this particular drug designing, I'm driven by translational research would be nice. And if you have prior experience related to that or any other experience, doesn't have to be related to that, mentioning that, you already have this experience, but you want to broaden your research by adding this experience, putting them in a more coherent way will be nice. And how does the research internship, whatever is your broader goal of your career goal, whether, exploring the different avenues of research or basically, you already have a path decided and achieving that path. Either way, it is, okay. So having these coherent thoughts put together in a research statement is kind of give us an idea. Okay, this person wants to do this. Okay, so maybe this is our lab is good for this person, and maybe we should ask them to come here. So I think this is what maybe at the point when we are looking, I think this is what is important because that tells us what this person or this applicant is probably interested in. So we also get an idea, and then it works both ways. So you are also kind of matched with your choice of lab or group, and we are also matched with the correct candidate. So I spoke to you about mostly about the NIH because there are several other internship opportunities, and it is not limited to institute. There are like you can divide them into different categories. As I said, depending on your interest, whether you're interested in basic, translational, or more clinical, you can pick and choose different places or just apply to multiple places and see where you get and what you probably might be interested in going for. For example, NIH is one of the research institution. It's not a university. There are several other independent research institutions and medical schools, right, where people conduct basic as well as translational research, right? And it is open for both high school as well as undergrad summer programs. So basically, navigating, I can give you a list. So I have not put on the presentation because, too much detail. But yeah, navigating, applying to those would be a good idea. And same goes with the university. They have more or less similar structure, what I told you about the NIH, same application procedure, maybe, different portals and stuff. But at the same time, same research statement and, navigating through the lab would be, more or less similar procedure. And they have both state and private universities, which have, these SURF programs. And then if you're interested in more of the translational or, more towards biotechnology or the pharma research, which is like drug designing or designing different techniques or, different kind of, for example, vaccines. The other internship position, which might be, more interesting to you is pharma companies. And many pharma companies like, these company like Amgen, Novartis, Regeneron, I put down some of them, Genentech, have very good programs where you can, potentially apply for high school and especially for undergrad. So you get a one-on-one, interaction, with the company, what they really do, and you kind of get a, good sense how, research is conducted in companies versus research institutions. So these are, different things you can, probably 1 year you can go for institution, another year you can go for pharma company. So you can, have an all-rounded approach if you want to just, kind of broaden your experience of different kind of experience in internship. And finally, just the last slide, at the end, what, as I've been telling you in the webinar throughout is, depending on, what kind of research interests you, I think that is one of the big questions, because I kind of knew very early on that I like basic research because I like asking questions about why and how and, what, right? I'm not interested more in translational, which is, downstream. That is also very interesting research, but that is not what I'm very interested in. So recognizing what kind of, research aptitude or, think person you are is important, what you'll really enjoy asking. And maybe recognize your, area of interest, whether you want to do, you can apply all these concepts of basic research and things in different research setting, even in clinical. Some clinician also study very fundamental questions but recognizing your area of interest, whether you like cell biology, you like genetics, or you like mathematics, is another, like important thing. And then eventually just sit down, prepare your application because you have recognized the core things which is about your, your interest of the kind of research you would like to do. And then, just, wait and apply for, different programs which are available. And I spoke to you mostly about the NIH program, but there are, several thousand which are available, not several thousand, yeah, several hundred, which are available in universities. And if you guys interested, I would, send you a list of that, which is, there are several applications which you can, put depending on, what area interests you. And at the same time, you can also directly contact PIs because if you have not gotten through, if you tell a PI you really like their lab, probably they will help you navigate into the system. And probably, there might be a way to, join in into their lab because there are hidden funds which might be available for a summer internship. So it is always good to, keep surfing through what kind of research you would like to do and maybe what kind of potential lab you might like to go, especially for the undergrad. I wouldn't say it for the high school because, you guys are still in your early school years. But for undergrad who have kind of already decided what they really like, I think that is also one of the good strategy. And with that, I think I'm 5 minutes I still have. I will, just end it at that. It is just considered it's more than, in addition to your CV, whatever you do will matter, So just make the best out of the opportunity, whichever opportunity you get. And the last thing I would like to, with my acknowledgement, I would like to thank you guys for, inviting me. And it's been a really nice, experience to make this presentation. And also, I would like to, congratulate you for what you have achieved with your Connect Me free tutoring and mentoring. And so thank you all for joining me today. And I just wanted to put a declaration. These views are mine and not of the NIH, right? Because I spoke too much about NIH, but at the end, this is, my views. And with that, I can end the webinar and I can take any question.
Thank you so much. That presentation was amazing, and I know that we all definitely learned a lot from it. Before we go to concluding remarks, we would like to take a picture with all the participants on the call to celebrate this webinar. So if you are comfortable with doing so, please turn on your camera, everyone.
All right, can we just end the screen share real quick?
Hello. Hello.
Hi, yes, if you have any questions, can you please put them in the form that has been sent in the chat? And Nivedita, is it possible to stop the screen share?
I can do that. Just a second.
Okay, perfect.
All right, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I think it's muted.
Or your mic was muted. Um,
All right.
okay, so we will be taking the picture right now. So if all of you could turn on your cameras if you're comfortable doing so. And if you have any questions, please make sure to put them in the Google form that we sent out, and we will answer them after the pictures.
All right, thank you guys so much for the picture. Now we'll take a short break from webinar content and talk a little bit about ConnectMe's recent news appearance. Following the webinar, we will answer your guys' audience questions. Or sorry, following the advertisement, we'll answer you guys' questions.
Sure.
Thank you for that. On January 24th, Connect Me appeared on WEAU 13, a news station in Wisconsin. I, along with Connect Me's founder, Mehmet Taşyoglu, spoke about Connect Me and highlighted the tremendous impact it has had not only on us, but on education as well. We will play the news article. In the meantime, please make sure to fill out the audience questions form. I know that there were some issues with it at the beginning, but it should be working now. So yeah, fill that out with any questions that you may have at this point in the webinar. We will answer these questions following the video. So let me.
A student-run tutoring nonprofit has distributed over 30,000 free tutoring sessions to students, including students right here in the Chippewa Valley.
Hello, Wisconsin's Ellie Pomerleau is in studio today to tell us more about Connect Me. Good morning, Ellie.
Good morning, Bob and Leanne. Connect Me is a nonprofit that was launched during the pandemic with the goal of helping students stay on track. The founder says Connect Me has grown immensely over the past few years, and Eau Claire is one of its tutoring hotspots.
Hassini Anad has been a tutor with Connect Me since she was in 8th grade. Now as a sophomore at a high school in Michigan, she continues to tutor students weekly, including 2 students in Eau Claire. She says she enjoys watching her students learn.
I think that light bulb moment is definitely one of my favorite parts. And to kind of see how they kind of persevere when they get things wrong or when things are hard, and you can kind of see them working through that. And I think that is something that I've not seen very much, like firsthand one-on-one. And now that I've seen it, I think I know I'm tutoring them, but I feel like I learn a lot too.
Connect Me is a high school and college student-run, established nonprofit offering free tutoring sessions to students across 33 states and 8 countries. The founder says he offered virtual tutoring sessions as a way to make money, but when the pandemic hit in 2020, he knew he had to make change.
Once the pandemic hit, I realized that students were falling behind and they were struggling to keep up, and that a business really wasn't what I was looking for my impact. And so I changed Connect Me from, more of a business type organization to an official 501c3 nonprofit.
Since the switch, Tastrolu says the nonprofit has grown exponentially. The now squad of tutors help with a variety of subjects, from math and science to time management. And he says Eau Claire is one of their hotspots for tutoring sessions.
I have over 100 students and tutors from the Eau Claire area. And so for a nonprofit that's, nationwide, that's a pretty large concentration, but we're happy to bring in more people. And we want to make as big of an impact as we can.
Now that they have offered 30,000 free tutoring sessions, he says the next step is to reach more students. For people interested in joining Connect Me as a student or as a tutor, they should take the following steps.
Prospective students or tutors can go to our website, connectmego.org. You can click sign up and you can click as a student or as a tutor. It's a really, really simple process.
Testorolu says there are some questions students and tutors will need to answer when signing up regarding availability and subjects they need help with or would like to tutor others in. To get signed up, you can head to weau.com. Bob and Leanne?
Well, I'm way past my prime, so I mean, I probably could have used some tutoring when I was in college.
Well,
so.
it's nice that he's offering them for free. I mean, sometimes your family can't afford a tutor, you can't afford a tutor, so it's nice to have that resource.
I'm done with school, I'm sorry. All right. Hey, student.
Well, that was awesome.
Thank you. You can find the article sent in the chat soon. Please make sure to read it and show your support for Connect Me. And also, as mentioned in the clip, you can apply as a student or tutor as well. And I will pass it over to Brooke.
We'll be moving into our audience questions next. Once again, these questions come from the RSVP form as well as the audience questions form we sent out previously. We would like to preface this section by saying that we received multiple questions and will try our best to answer as many of them as possible. However, it is possible that not every question will be answered.
Hi, Brooke. I'm not able to put in the chat. Is it possible? Is it okay to ask here?
You can tell me the question. You can, speak. I can answer.
Yeah, the only question is here it is for the research 17 years. Is it a must or is there any?
At the NIH?
Yes.
I think they do have, if you are below 17, then you need some, form signed up by your parent. I think you can. It is not a very hard and fast deadline, but yeah, they do prefer people who are, above 17 plus, or at least they are in, 11th and 12th grade. And if you are below that, you can probably, you have to be living in certain perimeter or the radius, which is around 45 miles, won't be, living far away from NIH. So there are some, way to navigate that, but, or, have a waiver signed up by your parent. So there are ways you can, navigate through that.
Oh, 16 years also can apply?
I think so. You can apply, but there'll be some additional paperwork you might have to do, or you might be, living around the campus. For that, you should be able to apply. But for example, you have high school SIP program. There you are 16, less than, 17. So you can do like a part-time, but you should be living nearby the campus. So I think those are certain rules which NIH has. If somebody has a very specific question about this, I can send you, what kind of waiver forms they have, but you can navigate the situation.
Okay, but it should be done before February 21st, right?
You can put your application and then, contact, I would advise contact the lab or some of the labs you are interested in. So at least you get a, more direct view. And then once you are picked up, you can, then the paperwork would be needed. It's not needed right now.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
Yep.
We can also contact you through email, right? Your email, if you need.
Yeah, I have my email at the very end of the slide, so you can contact me any of the time if you need any question. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
For future reference, if you have any questions, please make sure to use the question form that we sent in the chat earlier. I'm going to hand this off to Arav, who's going to ask our first question from the RSVP form.
Sure.
All right. So the first question we have for you, Dr. Khan, what are some other examples of clinical research conducted in the NIH besides your own?
So there are like clinical research. There are direct involvement of the patient. For example, NCI is a Cancer Research Institute, which have, you might have heard of, there are like trial therapies, right? Many of the patients have something which is, not very diagnosed. Sometimes it is some form of the cancer, sometimes it is very undiagnosed disease, or some diseases which do not have real treatment yet. So those things come under kind of, not very regular therapies. So NIH has program, this called trial programs. So in that case, you are directly involved with the patient and you're monitoring how those, the drug trial which NIH has designed with themselves or with the help of the company or other university, they'll be directly tested on the patient treatment of a certain disease. So these are involved in the clinical center. And the Building 10 I showed you that involved the majority of the trial programs. And this is one of the clinical research which we have at the NIH, which directly enrolls the patient. And you might be, not working because you do not have the clearance to work with the patient, but you might be engaged with the research of that kind. The other clinical research I could give example of, so there are a lot of research on the, for example, neurological diseases, and also on the cancer, where there are multiple collaboration meaning people are, if like companies which are designing drug, for example, translational research, they are giving those compounds and now they are testing onto the treatment or cure of those neurological problems such as Alzheimer's, for example, or of certain kind of cancer where you are developing mouse model, and then once it is working on the mouse model, you are taking those drug to the patient. So, there are multiple of such programs which are available at the NIH. And for that, I think you would be specifically looking at the NCI if your interest lies in the cancer, or maybe, other neurological related, diseases. And like where I work, I am at the NHLBI, which is National Lung Heart Blood Institute. So there are programs which are involved in the, clinical research related to the heart, even the, lungs. So they are, the problem which you have, hypertension or the heart attack or, arrhythmias. So those are the programs which are, you can directly apply. So every division has a clinical as well as, the other basic or the translational. So you would find, depending on, where your interest lie, you will find a clinical, platform for that. Right.
All right.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think that was the
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
All right. Now next up for you, are these internships eligible for students that are not citizens and like on an H-4 visa or some other type of like green card or anything like that?
Yeah. So for the NIH, you need to be a citizen or you can be a green card holder. So, but I'm not sure, or I wouldn't say that. I know that H4s are not eligible, but I wouldn't, say that do not apply. But, there might be some ways, but at the eligibility criteria, which I'm aware of, or which I'm sure of, is like citizens and the green card or the permanent residency holder, which are for sure available. But H4, I'm kind of, doubtful that, it's not open for, unfortunately, not open for H4 visa.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Our next question is, what is the best way to find and get an internship as a high school student?
Okay, so for the high school student, depending on, which level you are at and what are your choices, right? Because high school, you are still, very broad. So, so for high school student, there are biomedical, internship, but there are also other internship because you're still kind of, formative years. You might be like mathematics, you might be like aeronautics. So there are programs at the NASA. There are programs which are at the university level, such as MIT, which basically involve, different level of, different kind of research, which are like more of engineering-based research. NASA involve more of exposure to the aeronautics. And then NIH also have this biomedical research, but there are other university programs. I don't remember offhand. I can send you the list if you guys are interested, but there are multiple programs, which I can probably, send you a list where you can navigate whichever interest you are. Wherever your interest lies, you can, probably consider those. But I would say at high school, they're much more broader because of the, because you have still, studying multiple subjects. So you can still, go into these kind of, research programs. But yeah, there are definitely many research programs which are available for high school students.
Thank you, Dr. Khan.
Thank
Our
you.
next question is, how would I know if I'm qualified to join a research internship?
Okay, so whenever you're applying, whichever A, B, or C research program as you have narrowed down, so there'll be eligibility criteria, right? So where it will be written, whether, you need to be enrolled in a given undergrad or you are already graduated. I mean, there'll be all kind of criteria. What is your, age group, where, which, how many, years of, depending on, how old you are or how young you are. So all those criteria will be listed, and accordingly, you get to decide whether you are eligible or not. And there is no hard and fast rule for all the research internship. Some of the research internship even takes 14 plus. Some of them, do require you to be 17 or 16 plus. So depending on the program you're choosing, you will be having, these sort of eligibility criteria. So accordingly, you can decide. I mean, if you have any specific program in mind, you can send me. I can, probably send you back. I mean, what are the requirements? But yeah, I think that's the best way to go. Just check the eligibility criteria.
All right, thank you. And how early should you start like prepping for college and doing these sorts of research internships? And I guess a sort of side-on question, how would you decide your major if you had to do it again?
Right. So for the college, let's say, I mean, I would be interested, like when I was in college, I started my internship from the first year onwards. And which is like my college has already had the majors decided for me because it was a very specialized program. Like, but many of you, or I would say rather fortunately, people are, still figuring out which is better than, already put to a fixed system. So you can, maybe intern. I mean, you probably would have some idea that you like this kind of science. Maybe you're interested in biology. Maybe you're interested in physics, right? If you're not interested, maybe going for a physics internship, for example, if you like that, or maybe, maybe some other engineering internship, or maybe, then for in the first year, because early you start, more option you have, you can, explore more. So at that point, I mean, once you do an engineering internship, probably you'll like that, or maybe you will not like it. So, or the second year, you can do a biomedical internship. Probably you might like that. So in a way, sampling would be, better option if you've not decided. But I kind of already knew that I like the biomedical, kind of research. So I was sort of, placed right in my head that this is the kind of internship I would like to, go for. But I would suggest for college student, you can, start applying if you have time during first year of your college. That will, leave many of the years open for you to explore even more. If you don't know, for example, you're like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, I like it, I may not be, liking it. So, you can explore in your second year, third year, or you can do something else, to figure out what you really like. And I think Mehmet was one of the person, I think, to our lab. I mean, people often tend to take later years of the college, but NIH, everything, and even other university, they have, open to all years. I think he came in during the first year of college. So which was good. Now you can explore furthermore, different kind of the research. So do, as early as possible. If you have time, I wouldn't compel anybody, but yeah, that'll be nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is, what's a recap of the steps to get an internship and how should you go about approaching professors?
Okay, so one thing is, I mean, first, like how it begins is, once you have applications which are opened, right? And, you recognize, okay, these are the application which I'm gonna put my, I'm submit these application. Once you have submitted your application, before the deadline, you prepare your material, and then probably you can start navigating, or before even submitting your application, you can start looking around in different department wherever you are. For example, you are submitting to NIH. You can start looking, what kind of labs are there, what kind of work people are doing. I know it's too much of work, but having some idea at least, and once you have submitted your application, you have prepared, you have submitted, and probably you figure out there are 10 such lab which fit with your, research interest. So you prepare your application material for that. And then afterwards, once you have submitted your application, maybe, contact the PIs, because, you were referring to some labs that you based your research interest on, or you were interested in those labs, and you put those kind of research, ideas in your research statement. Once you have done that, then contact the PIs. PIs are the lab heads. Write to them that I have applied to so and so program, and this is my CV, this is my research statement, and I'm interested in your lab for this reason. And I think that would be, the final step of your. And then depending on how much opening that professor will be having, they will be, responding back to you. So yeah, apply, figure out what you are interested in that particular program, look for the labs, then prepare your material. So you have, things listed, finish the application, and then contact your PI. So you can send the link of your application so they can, just go into the application system. Because, then it is all up there, so you can navigate. So yeah, I think that is the step I would say would be nice to take.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Our
thank
next
you.
question is, how would you reach out to professors using cold email, and how many should you reach out to at once?
Okay, so how do you reach out to your professor using cold emails? Okay, I would say don't write cold emails. So, I mean, mentioning a little bit of, specific, let's say you have a body of cover letter, right? And then depending on maybe let's say you, for example, apply to NIH. And, right, so you have probably 20 labs you are interested in, and probably they have something which is matching your core interest. That is why having a core interest, otherwise you'll be writing 20 different applications, which is not possible, right? And then once you have that cover letter that you are interested in pursuing, for example, cell biology, you like this, and you would be liking, you'll be interested in doing cancer biology in future, which is, your body of the email. And then figure out this scientist is doing something of this. Just mention one line. Because of this, I'm interested in your group. So as a result, it tells you that some person is really interested in my lab, and I should, really look into their application. Otherwise, if you send an email which is very generic, so they would be like, maybe they're sending many, many emails to everybody. Maybe it's not because then professors are receiving multiple emails. So it is difficult to recognize who is actually is interested, and, understand, like there are 50 emails coming, you have to pick one person. So being slightly specific and telling, this is why I'm interested, maybe put up one line. Hey, I'm interested in, for example, Drosophila brain metastasis, because I'm interested in understanding brain metastasis. So I would love to come to your lab. So that, that gives a very, kind of an edge to your application. Okay, this person has really, been thinking. So other 50 people, maybe if they are applying to other 50 groups, so maybe they will have more chances getting in there. So I would say adding a little bit of specificity to every email, for example, 20. Somebody is doing brain metastasis, somebody is doing some cell biology, studying, let's say, microtubule. Say, I'm interested in microtubule because of this. Will be, kind of, it really will help your application. So I think I would suggest that. And how many would you probably reach out to? At least maybe 10 or 20. I know it's a lot of work, but maybe if you are really interested in 5 summer intern program, maybe you can spend a lot of time in there. Then other rest 15 program, you can be, little, not do too much about it. Maybe, 5-6 years should be good enough. Because I know it's a lot of work. You guys are already in college. Then, your studies and everything, I think, like figuring out these are important application. I'm going to put my weight over there. Rest are all okay, but I'm going to do it anyways. It's kind of a strategy, I would say, you can take.
All right. And as a follow-up to that, you mentioned like finding a specific field to like email professors. So what steps should like a high school or a college student take when like looking to get research related to that specific field? Like how would they go about finding it?
For high school, I think it is slightly kind of, not very easy scenario to navigate, right? Because, in that case, high school people shouldn't be, they need not be very specific because you're not expecting them to be specific, right? But they can say that I saw, maybe, you can visit our lab web page and you said, I like, those, whatever. I mean, probably you may not be even reading research paper at that, at that level, right? You probably say, I like, maybe, just say those Drosophila model, or maybe just the cell biology. Therefore, or I want to be a cell biologist. Therefore, I would like to come to your lab. That is enough for high school student. But for the college student who are in their senior year or, in their, third or fourth year, I think by then you'll already have chosen your major. So kind of you already have a little bit of idea, right? Then mentioning maybe, then yeah, I mean, you can start looking up to the, web, like, for example, you navigate into, for example, a simple system. Let's say you go to a university, let's say University of North Carolina, biology department, there are 20 labs, right? 20 labs, you go step by step. Some people are doing protein biochemistry. I'm not interested. For example, people are interested in biochemistry. I'm not interested. Somebody is doing cell biology, cell signaling. I'm interested. So just mention that I'm interested in studying cell signaling because you kind of gotten an idea that this is cell biology, this is molecular biology, this is cell biology. A person is doing totally, behavioral science. I'm not interested in behavior science. I may not, be writing. So I think at that course level, I wouldn't say that come to, for example, our lab name is NASA Response Lab. Doesn't mean that he studies centrosome biology. We are not expecting you to be telling centrosome biology. Cell biology, just being broad, like you have your subjects is good enough. That cell biology and studying something of, genetics is good enough, details. But not mentioning at all, just having a very, simple format, very generic format wouldn't, inform anybody anything. But if you happen to have previous internship and you're already kind of now aware of much more, what you already can get from, from your college studies, probably that might also, inform you what extra to write. I think that is the part when you start getting internship and that, you start learning more and more. So you get, add more details to it. But I guess, yeah, this much detail should be good enough for high school at least, and for college, I guess, can be a little specific, but I mean, we are not expecting to be super specific that, I'm interested in, this signaling pathway. Signaling pathway is good enough. Okay, so I think, yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right. That's all the questions we have time for today. And thank you once again for hosting this webinar and answering these questions, Dr. Khan.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really had fun. And I hope you guys learn, gain something out of it. And if you guys have any question about any fellowship, maybe, I can prepare a list and send it to you over. And you can feel free to contact me. You have my email ID. I'll be more happy to, answer any of your questions. Okay, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for your time. And yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to our webinar, everyone. We are so grateful that all of you could make it today. And before we end, Dr. Khan, do you have any more final remarks that you would like to make?
I think, yeah, that is it. I think, yeah. I mean, you can just, write to me if you have anything. Yeah, basically, just recognize your interest. I think, once you have the core, then it's easy to navigate the application because otherwise, it gets difficult doing multiple things. Right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And
okay.
For everybody in the audience, if you wish to enhance your experience with Connect Me, tutor a student, and get volunteer hours, and earn leadership opportunities, make sure to sign up to be our tutor through our website, that is connectmego.org. Once again, you can apply in the link, which should be in the chat as well. And make sure you follow Connect Me's Instagram, which is at Connect Me Tutoring, as well for more updates on anything Connect Me related. And thank you guys so much for coming.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Tran, do you need
Okay, that was okay. There were some issues that happened. Like the also like no like that guy who spoke like was speaking freely. Why did nobody like what was going on with that?
I think like he started speaking and then Dr. Khan said that he could go.
Yeah.
Like she said that he could ask the questions,
Yeah.
so he couldn't really intervene.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Can we stop the recording first?